What up, fam? Today's mobility, I'm going to build a little bit on one that Levi did about a week ago. So he did some stuff for forearm, elbow tendonitis stuff, some stretches that you can do to start helping with some elbow pain. I'm going to build on that just a little bit, just a tad. So at the very end of that video, he addressed that even strengthening stuff we would do for it would be very simple, very light, not anything like weightlifting type. So the stretches that he did in the video, that actually is a form of loading the tendons that you're trying to work on there to alleviate some of that pain. So this small orange band that you see here is going to be the next step or the next progression up into trying to help with some of that elbow pain, either golfer's elbow down here inside part of your arm, or tennis elbow whenever the pain is out here on the outside part of your arm. So super simple. I'm going to take this small orange band, and it needs to be something really light. So obviously I'm using an orange band like we have at the gym. It could be tiny weight, like 2 pounds, something like that, but very little difficulty in this. And I'm going to have my elbow bent about 90 degrees right at my side for the base progression here, and then going to flex my wrist as much as I can and then hold with the tension from that band. Now it's very light tension. I'm standing on the band, and then I'm just flexing my wrist and holding it in an iso hold, static here. You could do this for working up to 30 seconds, up to 45 seconds or so. Then if that tension, you could use a tiny bit more. You could stretch the band just a hair more, but it's not something that we're trying to overload. You're literally trying to get this, and you can hold this in different ranges of flexion too, right? And you could start, like some of you maybe here, and that's where you start, and then you build up to a little bit more flexion. I don't have quite as much flexion as could get out of that, and then just hold it in there for 30, working up to 30, 45 seconds if you need to work up where you're at. So that is the base progression, extending your elbow and still having that wrist flexion, or just starting from the extended position and then flexing your wrist, keeping that elbow straight with the tension on it, is level 2, the next progression up. Now this, the palm up version, would be for what you would call golfer's elbow, whenever the pain presents here on the inside part of your elbow. For the outside part, so that's inside part is wrist flexion this way, right? So the outside part is just going to be the opposite direction, extension. So taking same band, same position, elbow bent 90 degrees, and then I'm extending my wrist here and just holding that isometric contraction there and loading that tendon out here on the outside, the lateral aspect of my elbow, which is where I have pain in this arm, which is why I'm doing my right arm here. And then just holding that in a contraction. This is not real light. Like you can see, there's just a tad of wiggle there in the band. So I don't have this thing stretched to the max by any means. It's just a light load that I'm holding, isometric contraction here, like so. And then the same thing to progress it up. The next step up from this, once you get 30, 45 seconds worth of hold, you're good here. I may stretch the band just a tad. If I can hold that 30, 45 seconds, then the next step is going to be extend my arm and then flex my wrist without bending the elbow, right? So here, and then holding it out at extension. And this makes it significantly more difficult, believe it or not, when you extend the arm. So don't just go straight to this one, starting in that base progression first, and then holding that position is where you should start. And all of that is a progression up from where Levi started you last week. So you should start doing some of those stretches that he showed you to work on that elbow stuff. And then once you're starting to get comfortable with those, starting to get some progression out of those, especially if you're starting way on the light ranges of the stretches he showed you, once you can start working to some of the bigger ranges in those stretches, these exercises, starting from that elbow bent position, either extending the wrist or flexing it, palm up, is your next progression. And then the straight arm versions would be the progression up from there.